Welcome to the show, everyone. We are so glad you are here with us today.
Hello, hello, hello.
How you doing, Graciela, in your new role here?
Good. You know what? It fits like an old shoe. It's perfect. I love this so much. I know I'm going to say it like every episode forever, but gratitude to you for bringing me on. I am so excited to be a part of this. Super,
And I
super.
have gratitude for you joining me because the show might have not gone on if you had said no.
Well, as your friend, I never would have let you do that. Friends don't let friends give up. So, that's my job. I'm your cheerleader. I'm here for
I
you.
appreciate that about you too.
I know. Sometimes I call Julietta and I'm like, I think I'm just going to quit everything. And she's like, no, stop. So, sometimes we just need that other person to remind us, like, wait a minute. I remember I'm a badass. I can do anything. Okay. All right. I just needed a little refresher.
And that, and I've said this before, but I will say this again. That one picture of me that you took with me holding the moon in my beautiful Egyptian galabea, like any day that I'm thinking like I can't do it, I look at that photo and go, that's who I am. And that is one badass that can do anything.
There you go. It's true.
So
It's true. I tell people all the time with photography, like, it's important to document yourself just for a ton of different reasons, but honestly, mostly so that you can have a picture up on the wall to remind you, right? Because we don't wake up like awesome every day. Like, that's one thing, I always try and say, like, hey, I know you took this course and you feel really great now, and that's wonderful, but like, time wanes on, and sometimes you need a refresher and a little reboot and things like that. So I really feel like if you have that one like magical picture of yourself, and you just swing by it every day as you leave the door and you're like, you know what? You're right. I'm a badass. I remember, because, right?
And that totally fits with, I don't know if you call that your tagline, but that you take pictures of who you are, not what you look like. And
I
that
love
that
that.
resonates so much for me. But
Yeah.
what I really want to talk about today, because it's coming up, yes, I'm a physical therapist, but in healing, I know in my core that healing isn't just fixing the physical body, but the emotional body, the spirit, the mind, the soul. And one thing that's been coming up over and over again in recent weeks is the concept of the witch wound.
Yeah.
And not everybody knows what the witch wound is. And if you don't believe in past lives, okay, that's okay. You don't have to believe in past lives, but the experiences that I have had in life lead me to believe that without a doubt, past lives exist. And I know that I was a witch and I was burned at the stake in a past life. And so many of us have been. And that energy, that trauma, the fear that it instilled in us from past lives, because the witches weren't like what people think witches are. These were just powerful women who were strong and independent and spoke their voice and did things that looked like magic to the muggles, which people describe what I do all the time as magic. And it's like, is it magic? Isn't it magic? I don't know. It's just what I do. It definitely doesn't make me evil and burning at the stake worthy,
Right.
but we carry that energy from past lives that make us be afraid to express our truth, to show our power, to
Yeah.
do all these things. And honestly, it does still happen in this world today that women do get
Crucified.
punished, crucified, whatever, for showing their power, for showing their true self. And the only way it stops happening is by all of us rising up and stepping into our power and speaking our voices and working together. And that's a lot of what this
This is
podcast is
about. Yeah.
about.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The word witch itself, right? Especially the way, I was raised and things like that, like very conservatively, it has such a negative connotation. And the more you dig into it, like with your grown-up brain, and the more you look into it and you realize, wait a minute, like I was like lied to, like being a witch is not a bad thing, right? Like we do things that are just as I don't know, magical, right? I mean, I can tell you that when I was little, people would pray to certain saints, and people would you blow out your birthday candles, right? And I mean, what is that, right? If not a wish, right? Something that you create, something that you manifest with your mind, right? When some added physical action. So I think you mentioned the other day that your dad
writing. What do? We spell words,
right?
Create spells with our
absolutely all of it. So I love that your dad the other day posted on Facebook, why were we taught to fear the witches and not those who burned them, And I thought that was so powerful because, as you grow up, no one's ever like, and like you think about it now and you're like, that is kind of messed up, right? But I hear you, because I think that even as children, I think that we are hesitant to be our most audacious selves. And it absolutely takes an unlearning of this, like as you say, witch wound, right? Something that has just carried over from this previous life, to be able to go past that, because it feels really good when you are your best self, and when you own yourself, and when you're saying, you know what, this is actually what I really, really want. But man, sometimes it's a really hard journey to get there,
But I will say, you brought up my dad posting that, which when I saw my dad post that, okay, I already think that my dad is the most awesome man on this planet.
Yes,
he was a guest on this show last season. If you haven't seen his episode, go check it out. But what I totally love about this is he is a 76-year-old Midwestern, like manly man, outdoorsman, Republican, like everything that so many of my circle of people here would label as like what's wrong in our country. And it's like, because they have this opinion of what that is. And here, like you see my dad, who like he checks off all of these things of what you think is wrong, but he's so the fact that I didn't like show him that and ask him to post that, I don't know where he found that, and he posted it on his own, and it like blew my mind. But the fact that he's doing it, he can't be the only person in his quote unquote category of people that has this open mind. So
absolutely. I really think that a lot of it is also just not being exposed to it. I think the right word is ignorance, but ignorance has such like a mean connotation to it. I don't mean it like that. I mean, like you literally have never been exposed to a different way of thinking, and therefore you believe something is a certain way. And, as we talk about often, all of this is made up. Like all of this, right? Like time, obligations, right? Like we're just making all this up as we go along. So why did that happen, and how are we carrying that, right? And then what can you do to break that moving forward, right? So that your next future self doesn't have to carry this witch wound again.
Exactly. And that's one thing too. Everybody that comes into my office and like works on healing them, I thank them, because anything that you heal in yourself, you are helping heal in the collective, and you're helping heal it for all your people that came before you and the people that come before you. So
yeah, and that's a big motivator for me too. What's that?
I said, so go work on your shit, people. It's not just for you, it's for the collective.
Exactly. Like sometimes I think to myself, oh, I've always been like this, or, oh, this is my issue or whatever. And then I look at my daughter, I have twins, and a boy and a girl, but specifically my daughter. And I think, wow, do I want her to carry this? Do I want her to feel like, oh, I've always just been that way? And I'm like, hell no, I don't. You know what? I'm going to heal this in myself so that I know that I'm healing backwards, right? My mom, who could use a ton of healing, my grandparents all the way back, and then going forward, like what a gift I can give to my daughter and future generations, whatever that looks like, right?
Yes.
We are way more powerful than we think, I think.
Exactly.
Little witches that we are.
All right. Are you ready for our guest?
I love our guest. Bring that beautiful face forward.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Chloe. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. I would love to see your camera a little bit further down because I just want to see a little bit more of you. Gorgeous, because that outfit is, look how fabulous she is. So we're going to let you introduce yourself, Chloe. But first, I absolutely have to take a minute and a half and tell you how much I love this woman. I have known Chloe for, I think we calculated about 20 years. And when I first met her, she was a completely different person. It was my pleasure to help her with some activities of daily life. And when she tells you her story, you will be absolutely floored. She has written a fabulous book. I'm doing your intro. I shouldn't do this. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. But her book is so amazing. You know, I'll say one thing and then that's it. I promise. I'm gonna let her talk. But I love books. I own 3,000 books literally in my house. My children, their collection is probably about 500. I have always felt that I have to own books and I have to read them because there's one magical sentence inside that's going to change your life. And when I read Chloe's book, like the entire book was the one sentence I was looking for my entire life. I rushed out and I bought it for Julietta and everything. So, Chloe, would you please introduce yourself? Let our audience know who you are.
I will. And thank you for that gracious beginning of the intro. Thank you. So I'm an award-winning author and creative director and multimedia artist. And I also was a former publisher and editor-in-chief of an award-winning magazine. I've now, through the years, grown quite a bit spiritually and am now a wisdom keeper and a seer who can see and interpret divine truth. So my book is about my journey because I consider myself, especially when this journey started, I considered myself a very ordinary person. This was never my intention. I did not try to get on a spiritual journey. It just evolved. It just kept happening. And so the name of the book is Wisdom Keeper, My Extraordinary Journey to Unlock the Sacred Within. And so I share what I've learned. Through all these years, I ended up becoming an intuitive shamanic energy healer. I am psychic. I can do mediumship sessions. I can see past lives, certainly for myself, but also other people. So it is a totally different world. And when I met Graciela, I was very sick. And I have been able, through everything I've learned on my journey, to completely heal myself. I had multiple sclerosis, very debilitating, for 14 years. I've had 3 major cancer issues pop up. And one that was very interesting, I had a trauma that I had hidden from myself for 50 years. And after I'd done all this work, it just was like, tap, tap, me next. You got to look at this one too. So it has been an extraordinary journey, and I'm happy I really want to help people wake up in a deep way. I want to help people understand how to heal themselves. And then ultimately I want to heal and save the world. So it's a small goal.
It's just one thing.
I know. So that's kind of what I've been doing for the last couple of years. And the reason I wrote the book is because I had visions of the pandemic back in 2010. And so when it came, I felt devastated. I mean, even though my spirit guides had said, you're not going to be able to stop it, we're not stopping it either. We're waiting till everybody wakes up. But that was really the motivation on my spirit guides literally said, it's time to tell everything that you know. And most of what is in my book, I'd never told anybody. So I skipped the baby steps. I just went from no one knows to except for the whole world now. So
I love that. And I love that Graciela gifted me the book. I read that book pretty much in one sitting, cover to cover. And what I will say is this is the exact book I wish I had, 30 years ago when I was starting my spiritual awakening. And I know this book is going to serve so many people in that journey. And it's also just always helpful. even to this day, every once in a while, I sit down and I go, is the stuff that I'm experiencing really real, or am I just messed up and crazy? And then I see like other people tell their stories. It's like other people are experiencing this too. So
Right.
hey, maybe we're all just crazy, but it's fine. We're not alone. There's
Yeah.
there's a lot of us in here. And after reading your book, I'm dying to just have more conversation with you, but that's not going to happen on this podcast. Even though I could totally hijack and go, what about this and this?
Yeah.
But we will dive into our questions. And the first one is, what is one piece of advice you got from another woman that changed your life?
Well, I didn't get this from her personally because she's pretty famous, but it is one of her quotes. Angela Mayo, I heard her quote. I'll just read her quote. I learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that just resonates with me completely. Obviously, myself, I'm very aware of that. And so I try with every encounter, even if it's just a brief hello, I try to really come from a place of compassion and heart space, because I want to leave people happier, not upset after my encounter with them. But I do the same thing for myself. I started doing this years ago. When I'm spending time with somebody during the time, and then I always give some time after they've left to check in with my body and my emotions. Like, how do you feel? And that helps me determine who am I going to allow in my inner circle. Because I've learned a lot, like, we've got acquaintances, casual friends, we have the whole thing, but your inner core, those are people that are going to affect your energy because you are letting them in a very deep way and probably frequently. So I inspired by her quote, I do that also for a check-in on who belongs in with me.
I knew this conversation would blow my mind. I didn't expect for it to happen right with the very first question. But you said something that was really interesting, because when you hear that quote, and by the way, she did give it to you directly. Like, Maya Angelou is busy, and so she had to write the quote and then just send it out so that you could pick it up. But I absolutely believe the more we read other authors and things like that, those are messages directly to us. Why not? Why wouldn't it be? Maybe she wrote it just for you, and everyone else just happened to pick it up. But you said, people remember how you made them feel. And I've always known this quote to be like, how am I showing up in the world? But you just said, how are you showing up for yourself? That's really what you said. How do you leave yourself feeling? Wow. Mm-hmm. Like that, you just blew my mind there really quick. Like, a self check-in where you can feel, how did I leave myself during this encounter? That's really powerful. It's so hard as women, for me anyway, I should speak for myself, to put myself first. But truly, when I put myself first and do my own check-in, right? We were talking in a different episode, Juliet and I, about saying yes and saying no and things like that. And saying yes when it feels good requires that self check-in, right? Do I feel good doing this? That's really powerful. Thank you for pointing that out. I love hearing something that has been around forever, right? In a totally new way. We talk about tapping into ancient wisdom in modern times. And really that's what that is. I want to ask you a question. So with what you do, you have such varied experiences. Give me one really great success story with what you do and how that buoys you to continue following your passion like that. Tell me a juicy story.
Well, honestly, I think my biggest success story, and it has certainly motivated me to keep going on this journey, was when the shaman here in Mexico completely removed my multiple sclerosis. That's stunning. I mean, there is no cure for it. And for the 14 years I was so sick with it, I had all kinds of alternative healing, and it never went away. So, but I did believe when I got diagnosed, I told Spirit, like, okay, I know this is here for lessons. And so I'm digging in. I'm going to learn them. And I also let spirit know, if you think it's necessary for me to have this the rest of this lifetime, then I will do that. So, because I'm really big on surrendering to spirit. I'm just getting my ego out of the way and like, oh, you want me to have MS now? Oh, okay. But the fact that it was time after 14 years and so many healers that he was able to do it just showed me in a huge way, yes, you are on the right track. Yes, spiritual healing is extremely powerful. And I don't, if there's a medical problem, I don't just immediately go, I'm not going to a medical doctor. I'm only going to do spiritual. I am open to receive whatever. But I mean, that was removed from because of spiritual healing. That's really why it was removed, and the work I did. So I would say that is, it still amazes me. Graciela knows how sick I was. I had to have an assistant. I had to quit driving. I really couldn't 100% take care of myself. So I think that's my biggest success story. It still amazes me that I'm doing everything that I'm doing now that I couldn't have done 4 years ago.
I tell your story all the time. I want you to know, at least once a week, I'm telling people about my friend Chloe.
Yeah.
Well, as a PT, I've treated countless patients with MS over the years, and I have family members who have MS, and so I know firsthand how devastating it can be. You know, I've seen it up close and personal, and I have somewhat of an understanding of the work, because every physical manifestation we have is based on what's going on inside us. And healing is not for the weak. I mean, you have to be bold and courageous to fully examine every part of yourself and allow that healing to happen. And honestly, most of the time it's easier to just ignore it and say, okay, this is what this life served me. I'm just going to live with it. And, but stuff can be done. And, I don't think there's one magical healer out there. It was just, this was all the work that you had done. And that was the final step.
That's exactly how it felt. So, because I people with MS and other autoimmune diseases ask me about getting in touch with my shaman, and I just say, just remember, I had 14 years of working on it. You know, I didn't just come in off the street like, okay, I found I have MS, take it away. That wouldn't have happened. That certainly wouldn't have happened. Yeah.
And I tell people every day, I don't heal them.
Right.
They heal them. I always say, I'm just your healing tour guide. You might not know the way, so I'm going to show you, but I can't actually do the healing. You have to heal yourself.
Right. And it was time. It was time. But my shaman, I really love it. When he starts working on you for an issue, he says, okay, so get on the table and I've got to talk to your heart and your soul and your spirit guides, and then I'll let you know if I can do it. So he's, the spirit world said, yes, she's ready, do it now. So, but he was aware of that too. They could have said, no, she's not ready. You can't remove it yet. So yeah, I love this kind of healing. It's
beautiful. Yeah. All right. As Graciela said earlier, we are all avid readers here. And so we're always looking for our next read. What is one book that you wish every goddess would read, and why?
Well,
you can say your own if you need to.
What?
You can say your own if you need to.
Well, I will definitely. I was going to end with that one, but you know what? I just picked a book that made a huge impact on me spiritually, and I don't know if others will resonate with it, but I'll tell you why it resonated with me. I picked Soul Contracts: Awakening Your Divine Potential. And I started remembering past lives like in my 20s. So it's been a huge part of my journey, and it's a huge part of my healing, because I go in and remove whatever's stuck from a certain life. Usually it's a trauma with a death. I remove it, I re-experience it for them. So it's not traumatic for them. I'm crying during the whole session, but they're just kind of meditating. But so that when I read her book, because I was already so interested in the connection between how our past lives affecting us now in this lifetime. And the fact that she was introduced the whole concept of we're all souls that agree. There's an agreement, a soul contract. We agree I'm coming back to Earth during this time. These are the people I need to contact or meet, cross paths. This is my mission. This is what I need to do. So it just, for me, it gave me more like a motivation, a confirmation, like, yes, it was a piece to why the past lives to me were so important. And I got a fresh glimpse of that. And it is literally the first sentence in my book. When my son was 2, he was very precocious. So he started speaking in sentences when he was 1. But he turned around and said, "What took you so long?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "I had to wait forever for you to be ready for me to come here and be born." Soul contract. Hello. That's, he's 2. There's no way it wasn't on Sesame Street. I mean, just like they didn't have a show about past lives.
Should be.
Right. So it was clearly his soul was remembering. And, they do the spirit world does try to like remove that kind of stuff so that you come in fresh and you're willing to like do your journey. But he just was one of those that came in and remembered. But it was so clear to me, like that is what she's talking about with the soul contract. He knew I was supposed to be his mother this lifetime. I've been his mother other times. So it's fascinating. And so that's the book I would recommend because it has that little something you can hold on to and understand better, this connection with past lives. For me, that's what it was.
I think that's so beautiful. And thank you for sharing that. And I love the story with your son. And what a great opening to your book. Like, that's one thing I loved about your book is that from the first page, you're hooked. I think so far myself, Julietta, my friends, everybody's read it in one day. But what I love about the idea of the soul contract, it's really kind of comforting to know that you're not alone, that this is not a journey that we're undertaking alone, that the people that you just meet and you click with right off the bat, right? I mean, Chloe, when we first met, our interactions were an hour at a time, once a week, I think. And that very easily could have been in and out, but I knew from the moment I met you, this woman needs to be in my life. And I've followed your journey for so long. So it's, and again, like, she's also coming to the studio. So if you're in Fort Lauderdale, please, she's coming up from Mexico to come speak at the studio. But Chloe couldn't go to the mailbox without resting for 3 days. And to see her move all over the world. I won't talk about the boyfriends, things like that. Let's just say Chloe has lived a full and complete life throughout this MS journey. And I love seeing you at the pinnacle of your healing. It really is amazing. Okay. Next question. Are you ready?
Yeah.
A good one. Okay. So, especially for someone like you that has had so many life experiences, what's the one thing you've done in your life that you will never regret, that you're just like, man, this is the best thing I've ever done? And I know that's a big one.
Well, you know what? I had a hard time. I have a hard time when someone says, "What's your favorite?" Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh God, there's just too many. Well, so I actually, I don't know if I can pick one. Here's how I was thinking when I hear that question is, I don't regret anything in my life and I don't think I do anything differently because I really love where I am right now. I love where my life got me. And so I feel like, yeah, I made tons of bad decisions. Absolutely. Had unhealthy relationships, all those things that we in our human bodies are experimenting with. And they brought me here. Fortunately, I would recognize early on, when things weren't going well with my decisions, I'm like, hang in there. There's lessons. Just hang in there and do this. And what you'll know when you get to the end of the lesson. So just do that. So I don't regret much, but maybe you were asking for like a really cool favorite thing I did. I don't know.
I think any answer is the right answer, like that's the beauty of the question, is that how you interpret it is part of the answer, right? So that's beautiful. I appreciate that.
Well, and in general, I'm really happy because this covers everything that I do, that I've always been a free spirit, even when I was little, and very open-minded. And I think that had a lot to do with my journey, because I could have put on the brakes so many times because it was like getting too weird, but I didn't. I just kept that space and held on. Yeah.
Well, the next question kind of goes to what you thought maybe Graciela was asking, is what is your sweetest, most delicious memory?
Okay. So on that one, I'm really big on just going with the first thing that pops in my head instead of like analyzing, like, is that really the best, sweetest one? So I'm going to just share. It's a really sweet little story. When my son was little, I made up this game called Let's Take a Vacation Day. And of course, I made the rules because I'm the mom. And so the rules were you had to wake up, get dressed, and we went out to eat for breakfast. And then the rest of the day in the evening, we took turns choosing what we were going to do next. Because he was really little. So that helped him to know, okay, cool. I don't like this one, but my turn's next. And then the other rule was you couldn't go home until it was time for bed. So on my 61st birthday, my son said, okay, I have a surprise. I'm picking you up for breakfast. That's all you need to know. I'm like, okay. So we went to breakfast, and then he wouldn't tell me the whole plan. He was just like, okay, here's where we're going next. And he did that. It took me until the afternoon to go, oh my God, you remembered vacation day. You have created a vacation day for my birthday. And it was the same thing. He's like, well, we can't go home until you're ready for bed. So just let me know when you get tired, because we're not leaving. So to me, that was just, it felt full circle, and it also kind of is tied to the book, because my interaction with my 2-year-old son is the beginning of the book. I think I might have probably mentioned this when I was talking about honing your intuition, possibly, but it just was such a very sweet thing because you never know what you do with your children. Like, are they going to remember? He was really little, and he went, oh my God, I tell my friends about it all the time. So that was also just like, wow, you were 3 and you still remember this, and it was important to you, and that's why you wanted to recreate it for me. So
that is absolutely such a delicious memory. My goodness. As we ask this question, I love that the answers usually end up being something that you didn't even realize as a parent was making a big difference. You just figured, let me do one more thing to get through one more day,
Right.
I always worry about, what I say to my kids. Is it going to show up in their, therapy when they're 40? Are they going to be yelling at Tony Robbins about their mom who said something about their shoes on the floor? I don't know. But it is really beautiful to hear that, those little things end up going in the good memory category too, right? That
right.
Those things really stick. How beautiful. Hopefully we can take those memories into our next life as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
beautiful. And my son is I have seen so many past lives with him. He's definitely a huge priority in my soul family. I mean, we've had so many lives together, and that helps me as a mother. So if things get funky, I'm like, you're going to see him again. It's okay. You know what? Y'all will show up as different characters the next lifetime. It's okay. You don't have to do everything this lifetime. Yeah.
Wow. You don't have to do everything this lifetime. Somebody write that down. Hold on. Wait, I need that one.
That is a great quote. And I just want to say thank you so much, Chloe, for showing up and sharing. And anybody out there who it doesn't even matter where you are on your spiritual journey, where you're starting it, you're in the middle, or you've been at it your whole life. There's so many wonderful nuggets in there. Like I said at the beginning, it's the I wish I had that book, 30 years ago, although I know the book would not exist as it is 30 years ago.
It'd be about that big.
But it's, and I think it's a little bit different, waking up today. Back then when I was waking up, it's like, who do I talk to? Where do I go? Who can help me with this? And, Google wasn't there. We talked on one of our shows. Google that shit. Anything you need to know now, you can Google it.
Right.
Things that happened to me. Even when Google existed in the beginning days, you couldn't find this kind of information on there.
Mm-hmm.
And the blue being showed up in my doorway, and I'm like, who are these blue people? Avatar didn't even exist.
Right. Right. I know.
But wonderful to have that support system so people know that it's normal and it's okay.
Right.
And to receive those messages clearly and with abundance and with joy, right? Not fear, the fact that the two of you have merged into my life like this is no coincidence. Like this is my beautiful gift in this life, is to have the both of you like this. And I cannot wait for you guys to meet in person. I'll probably have to have a shield, because I think when you physically meet, your bodies are just going to explode into beams of light. I'm going to be ready. But Chloe, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts with the world. It is absolutely perfectly the right time and the right everything, the way that it all has come together. Kudos to your writing and your book. I'm an old English teacher nerd. Like, I love words. Your words absolutely have just touched me in so many ways. And I'm so excited to see it end up in the hands of every woman in the world.
Thank you.
Every person in the world.
Well, if you don't mind, I was going to hold up the book, and I also brag just a little bit. It won a gold winner for Memoir by a Female. And then I've also won a finalist for New Age Nonfiction. It just came out a couple of months ago. So this is the book. This is the English version. Oh, I'm not getting it on the camera very well.
Perfect.
Okay. And then the Spanish just came out a week ago, the Spanish version. So, and my website is chloekempwisdomkeeper.com. And it gives you a lot of information about a little bit about my journey. There's a sample chapter if you're not sure you want to get the book, and it answers a bunch of questions. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
It's been a pleasure having you here. I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person. And you got anything else, Graciela?
I am full. Thank you so much, Chloe. Thank you for being here. I love you so much.
Love you too. Thank you.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.